How many are new to Fire? I've never been to Firewise before, don't know anything about it. We had a mailer about a year ago. That's like a year old. Got one of those? Okay. All right. Anyway, I want to introduce the resident leaders and for Happy Valley Firewise. And we have two that are semi-retiring or stepping away. That would be Debbie Kaut, right over there, and Dennis Poisson, retired forester. And then we have, I guess we're continuing members, myself, Mike Sutter, and Bruce Cozy, and Sandy walking around. Okay. And our new members are Ron Caldwell, Happy Valley North. Good. And Kareem Kapkin. Karen. All right. Running a borderline. Might have to do some gerrymandering, but we currently is in Happy Valley North.
Changing the lines.
All right. And speaking of retiring, Harry Weldon is retired, and apparently this is their last time opening this place up, something like that. Anyway, so we've gone ahead and given you a gift here, a going away gift.
Retirement.
Most of it signed it.
Retirement.
That's something in here.
Yeah, he's retired.
Let's give Harry thank you, Harry.
Turn my bowl off.
All right. Okay, we have water and soft drinks and cookies over there if you want them. Just go over there and get them wherever you want. Be sure to sign in. If you haven't signed in, we can pass. Anybody hasn't signed in here? Or anybody hasn't signed in, there's some sign-in sheets there. We'd like to have your email address especially so we can let you know of future things that are happening. Okay, so so our two newest papers are technically in Happy Valley North. So we need, if anyone is interested in being a leader, we need someone from the south. And we do have maps of Happy Valley North and South as far as Firewise is concerned over here. So if you're in the south over there, then you'd like to help out, let us know. The only other map we have over here is that we got a history of fires in Happy Valley. So anyway, I live in an area that was burned out. I've only been here 4 years, but my housing development built after the canyon fire, which kind of wiped out the whole area. So anyway, donations. We have a donation jar over there, so we're self-funded. So and our kitty is down to about $300. So that's what we do for, cookies, drinks, occasionally helping someone out with some defensible space work and whatever. Okay. What we've been doing, promoting is these reflective address signs. And you get them really cheap. The Shingletown Volunteer Fire Department makes these. I forgot they're like $12 or something like, you can get them vertical or horizontal, and then so if you would like to get one of these. This helps out the fire department or emergency health people to identify your property, especially in your rural area. So if you're interested, let me know. And basically, you go onto their website, you order it, pay for it, tell them you're associated with Happy Valley Firewise, and then the guy that makes them stops by my house and drops them off, and I pass them out. We try to do like a bulk order.
Did you get mine? I ordered mine 2 minutes ago.
I have a spreadsheet at home, but
do you have a 6075 laying around?
Give it to me after the meeting. I've got a spreadsheet of everybody I know that ordered one. So if you didn't communicate with me, then I don't know. So. But anyway, so he brings to my place. I pass them out, and then Matt Busher said, I don't know, a year ago, they said their fire department wanted to install these. I think we've had like 2 in a year.
Yeah, one we got delayed in putting in. We did install one. So
yeah, whatever.
That's how we've got so far.
I've got a few of these posts, And so they're nicely freshly painted and they come with screws. So that's an extra $5. So you buy those from me when I deliver it. Okay, so anyway, we're gonna sign, we got signs. And let's see, volunteer. Oh, so, speaking of volunteers, our next, I guess, event is gonna be the Strawberry Festival, which is on Memorial Day weekend. It's just Saturday and Sunday. So we need someone to man the booth, man or woman, wherever, for maybe, depending on how many volunteers, maybe a 2-hour slot. So usually I'll go on Friday night, set up the booth and get, a couple slots, and then I'll take the last shift on Sunday and take the 10th away. So if you're interested, let us know. Let's see. Also, I got this defensible space work. So we have done limited amount of actually work helping somebody out without any funds or something. So if you're interested in just helping, somebody that can't afford to have anything done, or just clean up their place, or get rid of brush, or you do some weed whacking or something. If you're interested in doing that, let us know too. Put you on a list.
Is
Okay.
Memorial Day the week before it usually would be?
It's the
23rd.
23rd, 24th.
Yeah,
And then our next meeting is the fourth Thursday, which is after Memorial Day. It's like the 28th.
yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So our next speaker, we have, I don't know, one of those two people from Happy Valley Fire Department. Yeah. All right. The chief, Matt Busher.
Matt Bush, Happy Valley Fire. As far as updates for us, we're starting our wildland fire preparedness training as of 2 weeks ago, which we're doing our basic wildland refresher training. And then also we put some firefighters through, it's an S-130 class, which is the basic intro to firefighting. And with that, they can build off of that to become what's called red carded, to better their knowledge for wildland firefighting, which goes through not only indirect, but direct attack. Structure protection is what we put a lot of our emphasis on. So whether we get to a house, if it's defendable, how to protect it and stay safe. As far as personnel goes, we're still kind of the same. We get some volunteers, lose some volunteers. Our daily staffing remains the same with 3 personnel Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. Our seasonal program will add a 4th person starting in June, and still 8 to 4. And then starting in July, we'll have staffing on the weekends from 9 to 5 with up to 3 personnel. And after that, we still rely on volunteers. Again, all the weeds and bushes out here is CAL FIRE responsibility. We are the initial first responders to it and to the vegetation fires. We also have the automated agreements as well. So if there's a fire in Igo or West Valley or anywhere to the south that touches our response area as well, they could threaten Happy Valley, they're going to automatically dispatch us as well. We established that last year. Last year we had quite a few small fires. We had 3 notable fires here in Happy Valley that we did not lose any structures on. We had starting with the Clement fire, which burned up 20 acres. And our crew specifically saved a couple homes along with the full resources from CAL FIRE. The Sean fire burnt another 20 acres that houses were immediately threatened. We lost some structures off of Andrea Way, but no homes, which was really good. And then Laverne fire, I don't remember how big that one was. Is 4.5 acres, but it was right between a bunch of houses and should have burnt down a couple houses. But luckily these guys were here quick, and then CAL FIRE was there quick, and we saved 2 houses immediately. We participated in 3 strike teams last year. So I went to LA, and then the Green Fire, which was in Shasta County. 4 campaign fires, Napa, and then Siskiyou. So it was neat to have enough volunteers and or staffing to cover around to support the California Mutual Aid System, as well as still cover Happy Valley. We are putting in for grants to ramp up our wildland equipment and stock, so that when we get back to the station, we can just restock our fire engines immediately instead of having to wash and dry the hose. We have 2 new Type 6s that'll be here hopefully in 2 months, and what that is a kind of a smaller version of a wildland fire engine. It's going to have 400 gallons instead of 500 gallons of water, but it's going to have a lower profile. That'll be able to get in and out of the brush and in between homes better. So that's going to be a game changer for us, hopefully. We have the Easter egg hunt coming up on Easter, so it's free to the public. Andy, you got anything as far as for district updates for Firewise?
Not really, just, want to talk about the signs a little bit. I remember, was it last year? I think it was last fall, myself and Nick Giappone from Cal Fire. The reason those signs are really important, you guys, is there's a lot of dirt roads out here. So for me to be able to find your house in the middle of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning when it's pitch black, no street lights, those signs there, the green with the reflective silver on, they shine right up so we can find your address. So if you guys can put those out, if you guys want to get those are super cheap. Put them at the end of your driveway so we can find your house. Also, it's great for wildland fires because, like Matt mentioned, we have that California mutual aid agreement. We'll get a lot of equipment from outside of Shasta County that may not know the area. So when they get instructions to go protect your house and they get an address, if you got that sign there, it makes it a lot easier and a lot faster for those guys to get in and out and find your place. So you guys can kind of support that. And if you guys need help putting those up, we do have the seasonal program on the weekends where we hire up the volunteers. We can make that as a project for them to go out there and install them at the end of your driveways for you guys. That's all I got.
Any questions for us?
It's not fire related, but
Okay.
when I needed to, we get really crappy cell phone service out here, but every time I go by the fire department, five bars. Do you have anything that's,
There's the 5G tower just down the road on the corner of, I believe, Pine.
No, it's on my property.
That's on his property, so.
oh,
Yeah, and then we approved the plans last year. They're gonna be building another 5G tower off of Oak Street as well. So the west side of the valley should have good Verizon coverage anyways coming in.
You're getting one at the West Valley Fire Department also on Gaspar.
Oh, nice.
cool.
Yeah, great for
I got to sit in a certain place in my house
Sign the
for the
contracts.
calls to work, so
Yeah.
I can't turn my head or anything. Oh, anyway.
We currently,
Booster up.
I got a couple questions for you, kind of getting ready for fire season and everything like that. I guess my main questions is what would make it easier for you guys? Like, obviously for the green signs there, but you want hose around the house? Do you want ladders around there?
So-
I mean, do you want lights on or off in the house? Do you want locked gates open? What makes it easier for you?
for us, if you guys decide to leave, which I would hope you guys all would, if you guys get the call to go, it's better to leave early and be safe than leave too late. But yeah, if you guys can if you have a water source on site, make that obvious for us. If you do have a ladder, either you can set it lean it up against a building or just set it somewhere obvious, because what we'll typically do is we'll take your garden hose, either soak down the roof, and then we'll also stick it in our tank as well for what little water that is. It'll still hopefully keep that topped off as we're using it. And the ladders will get up and try to clear any debris off the roof if we have time. Instead of using our own equipment and having to take the time to put it back if the fire blows up or we have to get out of there quickly. Access is the number one thing. Access is critical, even though like your yard may be great, but a lot of driveways around here that are hitting our engines, and sometimes it might be worse for us to go down a road, potentially rip up our engine, or get trapped in there. So if we know we can see clearly, we have good access to turn around, we'll definitely go in there and try to defend it. If you have a pool, make sure it's obvious, because we'll draft out of a pool if we need to. And then, yeah, gates unlocked is great. And then if you have time and you leave, you can say you evacuated with how many people you were there, but we'll typically go knock on the doors and check. But when you do evacuate, if you have time, close all your windows, close down your HVAC units, your swamp coolers, anything that can allow debris or fire and smoke to get inside your building. Your decks and porches, try to keep them clear. What we're going to do is try to get all the flammable materials off of there and away from the building as quickly as we can, because the more flammable materials and then spot fires, it puts us behind if we have to start doing all that and clearing decorative equipment and chairs and stuff off the decks. If you have time, but also keep a go bag and an escape plan. So
We have sprinklers on our roof. How do we get you to turn those on?
if we see them, we'll turn them on.
I mean, I could show you where it was, but I don't think you remember. I showed some Cal Fire guy that about 3 years ago.
A big sign would be good, because I mean, if we're running in there, it could be not just me, it could be Andy or somebody else that may know where it's at, but the next person is, which is, could be a CAL FIRE person.
What kind of sign do we put up on our
And
heads?
you can put, water source or sprinklers. Yeah, just something that makes it obvious, because when we're looking around, we wear a helmet to work and put water on fire, so we're not the brightest
Because
at
it's in
times.
the backyard, it's not in the front yard, it's in the backyard.
You can put a sign up and that says, on the spigot itself, if it's out in the backyard, that's obvious, says, connected to roof sprinklers.
Okay.
Yeah, because we'll go in and we'll walk around the house and triage it and see if it's, for one, anybody's home, two, if we can defend it.
I was behind fire lines in a park fire the year before last, and going up Wilson Hill Road, we passed a house with the fire sprinkler. They had a sprinkler up on the roof, and it was going. They evacuated and just left the sprinkler going.
Well, I did that once also, but I know it drains our water.
It can, yes. The car fire was different because it was so big and it also knocked out a lot of the pumps and generators to run the pumps for the district and whatnot. And a lot of the water got allocated to the city too. But if you turn them on, we're not gonna stop you.
But I don't wanna use the water that you may need. We also have a pool in the backyard too, so.
Yeah, you do what you gotta do to feel best to protect your home.
Thank you.
So one thing would be helpful is, depending on what firefighting resources available on that property, if there are stickers, like you got pool, you have extra 5,000 gallon water, you have hoses, you have sprinklers. If you can put those stickers on those labels at the bottom of those numbers, street labels,
Oh, that's a brilliant
then when
idea.
you drive by, you know where there's extra 5,000 gallon water is, there's a swimming pool is, what the hoses are, resources.
Yeah.
That would make it easier as you drive.
Mm-hmm. That, very good. And then one of the things that is, speaking of reflectors, thank you, is typically you'll see in the road and the hydrants will have a blue reflective material on them. So if you see a blue reflector in the road, it means there's a hydrant right there. And then our hydrants are also wrapped in blue. So if you do put blue reflective stuff on your rural water supply, that'd be good too. But I think that's a good point to start looking into.
Mhm.
Maybe figure out a game plan and a universal symbol, because there are universal symbols out there.
So if we agree what mutual aid uses for symbols,
Mhm.
we can get those reflective stickers made. And then have people put whatever relevant resources that they have on their plates, on their street signs.
It's a great idea. I like it.
Some insurances send out a mitigation crew, and one of the fires, they came out and they said they didn't have to do anything because we already had the sprinklers going, but they did know that we had a pool. But some insurance companies send out a team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my question about was propane tanks, the stationary ones, or your barbecue. So what you do with, move those away from the house or the
Yeah.
barbecue and,
Turn them off, move away from the house, and
okay.
that's all you can do really. And then the large ones, other than defending them, keep the grass short around it. And then what we'll typically do is when we get to houses, we'll eliminate power to the residents if PG&E hasn't already shut off the grid, and we'll shut down the propane tank, turn off the propane tank as well. That being said, because there has been times where propane was left on, fire was pretty much controlled, but a little skunking fire burnt up a plastic gas line and then lost the house that the people that were sitting there working on it for hours. So if your gas and electricity doesn't work, it's because we probably shut it off at the main or breaker.
If you have solar, normally you end up having a separate shut off. Do you want that shut off, or does that make any difference?
Preferably, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to get rid of any electrical hazard that may
Okay.
be on the property. Thank you.
Okay, there's a few things I forgot. Anyway, somebody mentioned about insurance. We have the certificates for Happy Valley North and South that we get recertified every year. So if you need that for your insurance company, you can either take a picture of those, or the certificates have been uploaded to the Happy Valley Firewise Facebook page, so you can get them off there too. So I understand that, the discount isn't very much, but, it might be worth
Is there a
the time.
website as well?
What's that?
Is there a website as well?
No, we've never developed a website, just the Facebook.
Yeah,
But
someone.
we can send those to you. We have them, they're easy enough that we can send, so.
I had someone ask recently, so I sent him the certificate, and I think the insurance company wanted to prove where he lived was in that Happy Valley North or whatever it was, so.
And the current certificate we have right now does go to the end of 26. And then what we'll do is, as we gather your worksheet, your hours and expenses that you've used for defensible space, we'll then accumulate that. I'm gonna work with Mike on this to do the totaling, what we turn in at year end, so. But we'll keep reminding you at each meeting.
That was the other thing I forgot about the worksheet. So we've got two versions there. One is like a one-time thing, whether you save it up the whole year or I did some work and here it is. And then we have another one that's got multiple lines. You can keep this a whole year and give it to us in October, something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I've updated. It's got a lot more categories that match. They want to know if the hours worked, was it on a dwelling or landscaping or miscellaneous, and all the definitions on here are all at the bottom of the page down here. So I have a question of what column to put the stuff in. It's not obvious, it's explained at the bottom. But anyway, we need to do 1 hour for every residence in your particular north or south. So we have in the north, I think in both, we have
About
1,180 residents, and that dollar factor you see here is $34.79. So
Oh, okay, it went up.
so that calculates to like $41,000. So we either need to spend that amount of money or work a number of hours so that we get to $41,000. So, which also helps if you know someone. I already know somebody in my area that replaced their roof, so that qualifies. So if you know somebody, especially in the south, that's replaced their roof, let us know. We'll have them fill out the thing, and that'll go towards the dollars. But obviously, we'd like to have more landscaping done and vegetation removal and stuff like that. But
Over here.
either way, we want to stay certified.
How old can the roof be? As far as
No, they
recently
just want to
replaced?
know the amount of money you spent on fixing your roof or re-roofing or.
We just had it done a couple of years.
Yeah, I just had one done
This year.
2 years ago. Does it have to be that year?
It has to be
this-
current year.
Yeah.
26.
2025.
26.
So it's in the past, we got we
Yeah,
got certified
yeah.
anyway, so we're just talking that we want to continue being certified, so it just helps if you have some large dollar items, and we don't have to worry about it so much. All right, so this is the big one here. So we had this ordinance, the defensible space ordinance passed by the Board of Supervisors in late October of last year. It became effective like 30 days later. It's like a nine-page document, and I've got a couple copies around here, but I also uploaded it to our Happy Valley Firewise
Mike,
Facebook account.
we
Yeah.
have Chris Kelstrom here, and he worked really hard with a lot of different fire departments to get that written and passed. He did a lot of work on that.
Well,
September 23rd.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, so I'm going to talk about what I read through it, and then I watched, rewatched a presentation from someone from CAL FIRE. His name was Matt, but I don't know his last name. But anyway, at KIXE, every quarter, Shasta County Fire Safety Council puts on a regional meeting. And recently it's been at KIXE, and he spoke about the defensible space ordinance.
I think it was Matt Alexander, wasn't
Matt
it?
Alexander,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
He's the
Law enforcement.
Yeah.
battalion chief from the county.
I believe, let's see, I did. Someplace I thought I had a link to his presentation, but it's on KIXE, and it's, if you look around, you'll eventually find it. But if you can't find it, let us know. I'll get it for you. But so basically, it's if you have your property is 2 acres or less, you need to clear. I mean, you need to the whole property has to be leased up to zone 2 level. There's zone 0, which is 0 to 5, and then zone 1 is 5 to 30 feet from your house, and then out to 30 to 100, that's zone 2. So whatever you got to do for zone 2, you got to do that for your whole property. So not just out to 100 feet, so it's your whole property. And then if it's 2 to 10 acres or whatever, then you have to have a 30-foot perimeter around your house or a site-specific hazardous vegetation mitigation plan. And then in addition to that, then the property owners must maintain a 30-foot of defensible space from their property line if their fuel accumulation endangers a structure on an adjacent property that is within 100 feet. So I figured if the corner of my house and go out 100 feet, and if that's out in somebody else's property and it's not maintained, then that area needs to be maintained. This ordinance, like I said, there's like 4 or 5 copies around. Out of that, I saw something about the grass and weeds must be mowed or cut to a maximum height of 4 inches. And tree stumps must not be any higher than 8 inches. And if you chip, the depth of the chips can't be more than 6 inches. And then it says generators and fuel storage, you need a 10-foot fire break, to the sides and above and below. And wasn't really sure about this, maybe you know more about it, but in the presentation that Alexander said, and then he went into the part about the tree branches being at least 6 feet off the ground and 10 feet from the chimney, and the trees being 10 feet apart or maybe even further apart if they're on a slope. But that wasn't in the ordinance, but maybe it's that PRC 4290.
Probably just a recommendation, more or less. They're not going to be heavy-handed on this thing. I mean, it was kind of written for Sandy's neighbor, actually, because there was, nothing that was able to be done. So now, if they get a complaint, they'll go out there and his first fine is $100. The second one within 12 months is $200, and his third is $500, and that goes into a fund to help clean up other people's property. So we're about to go live with a website. It's being worked on now. I think it's called Stay Ready Shasta, something to that effect. The 2 individuals we have for code enforcement to enforce the code, this fire code, are in background right now. And we've got the masticator is on order. It's on its way here. So we've got the masticator. So we're going to have 2 code enforcement officers to just enforce this fire ordinance, and then they're going to have a masticator. So I think there will be a program available where if you can't afford to, do your own property, you can apply for some funds to get out there and get it done. So,
right.
I have a couple of questions about it, Chris. Yeah. On the ordinance, reading it, it talks about 30 feet from the perimeter of the property.
Mhm.
Okay. And it also talks about if my neighbor, has a house, or let's say hypothetically, I've got my house, I've got my property, I've got my 30 feet. He builds his house, keep maintaining his 30 feet. I might have to clear off another 70 feet to be 100 feet away from his house. I mean, that's according to the ordinance there. Am I reading that correctly?
I would probably say it would be 30 feet from your perimeter. So I wouldn't say that you'd have to go 70 feet into your property for his house.
Well, it kind of implies that on the ordinance itself. It says that defensible space up to 100 feet from the exterior perimeter of any improvement on adjacent property.
And like I say, they're not being heavy-handed on this. So they're not going to go out to your property and say, "Oh, your grass is 4.5 inches, not 4 inches, so we're going to fine you." That's not going to do that. Again, this is written for people like Sandy's neighbor that refuse to clean up property, and his property is threatening her property. That's what it's written for. So I mean, yeah, they have to be specific and put all this stuff in, but again, they're not going to be heavy-handed. They're not going to come out and go, you only trimmed the tree limbs 5.5 feet. I'm going to give you a fine. That's not how it's going to be ran.
I had a question because I'm familiar with Sandy's property, but if there's a problem and it's more than 100 feet from her house, they don't have to do anything. You're like,
well, I'm pretty sure Sandy, as soon as they get the website up and this is up and running, we have the people hired. I'm pretty sure she's probably going to put in a complaint for her neighbor.
I've already filed.
How many times?
I've been in Cal Fire twice this week.
Yeah. So, and now there will be some punishment. Now there will be some teeth in it where, now if he refuses to clean his property, he's going to get a $100 fine. If he still doesn't do it, he's going to get a $200 fine. He's going to get a $300 fine. So, or $500 fine. So, and then that money's going to go into an account where they can draw from that money to clean people's properties that can't afford to do it.
Okay, and if the bad person doesn't pay the fines, or they don't,
Well, then they'll lien his house.
lien his house,
Yeah, they'll
or
take
they
it to
don't.
abatement here and lien his house.
They don't.
What's the time frame between each warning? Like 30 days?
I think the second warning is within 12 months.
12 months.
Yeah, so they'll give them a warning. I mean, they're not gonna go in there and give you a warning and fine you the next day. They're gonna go in there and tell you what you need to do, and then they'll come back and check, and if you haven't done anything, then you'll get the first fine. And then they'll give you some more time to get it done, and if you don't get it done, then they'll give you another fine.
So we could be looking like well over a year to get the whole process done.
Possibly, yeah. But we have to give that kind of timeline because we don't want somebody that's, you say, elderly and a widow that can't clean her own property, and now, her neighbor turned her in, and now they go out there and they have to follow the ordinance and say, well, you need to clean this up. I mean, they're not gonna, harass somebody with this ordinance. It's literally set up for people that refuse to clean their property.
Yeah, okay.
So how do we deal with the properties that are either abandoned or unoccupied?
You can turn them in. I mean, we do abandoned properties all the time. I just had a phone call today for an abandoned property. Well, actually, I shouldn't say it's not abandoned property. It's a property that's owned by somebody that doesn't live on it, and a bunch of homeless moved in there, and then
Yeah, just like ours.
yeah, and exactly, yeah, and then they're requiring him to clean it up, and I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, you got to take care of your property, and I mean, I'm sorry, but those homeless people have more rights than him and I combined. So they consider once they set up their tent, they've established residency in the state of California. So now it's a civil matter where you have to evict them. I mean, it's ridiculous, but that's the world we live in. So, how's that property by you, by the way?
It's a fuel hazard, but we got rid of all the squatters. Thanks to you.
That's a start. That's a start.
So when they get around to, so the person doesn't do anything and the county comes in and does the work, then they also lien for the cost of that work?
Oh, yeah. So we finally started having abatement hearings, which was ridiculous because between our county counsel's office and resource management at the time, they hadn't done abatement hearings in like 7 or 8 years. So we were listening to cases from 2017, 2018. It was ridiculous. So, but now we've got new county council. We've got a great resource manager. So now the team's doing it. And we just had an abatement hearing, I think, on Wednesday or just a few days ago. So they're having abatement hearings all the time. And they go in there. And a lot of times, if you guys think, you call, I'll hear it all the time. I called code enforcement and they didn't do a damn thing for 3 years. It's like, well, did you think of calling them back and making another complaint? So when we take them to abatement hearings, I mean, it's a 200-page report of pictures, and they have to go back over and over and over and warn them and warn them and warn them and write them up. And I mean, it's quite the long drawn out process. So some people think if you just call code enforcement, they're going to send in a SWAT team and rip them out of their home, and that's not how it works. So if you have a problem like that, you got to continuously call them, get them out there. They have to build a giant file before they take them to abatement.
All right. Well, when I was researching this ordinance, AI came up with some assistance programs. One I think it's got the Shasta County Fire Safe Council free chipping program. But the way I understand it is it's by area. So the Anderson area is in January. So you have to apply by January, and I think they do their chipping in January and then kind of moves east. So I don't know whether they do it other times of the year if they're slow or something, but that's the. Then there's a program from the county, Shasta County Defensible Space Assistance Program, and let's see here. There's also one from the state, and they're both started in the last year, but they're being implemented, or they're putting getting their program together. But the Shasta County one says launched in early 2026 to provide physical or monetary assistance for low-income, disabled, elderly, and veteran property owners with property in violation of the Dispensable Space Ordinance. So I did email the lady that was in charge of that, and over here. Okay, so I asked her some questions. I said, well, this is another kind of issue about CAL FIRE in the county. I assume the property must first have a CAL FIRE defensible space inspection and found to be in violation. She said the Shasta County Defensible Space Program is created to help people who receive violations under the new Shasta County Defensible Space Ordinance that are not able to do the work and so forth. The program is not designed to help correct CAL FIRE violations. I'm not sure what that was, but what we have been told is that people will start receiving 2 inspections, one from CAL FIRE, one from a county inspector.
That's the 2 individuals that we're having background right now. They're to enforce this code.
Okay, so it says, so someone may pass their CAL FIRE inspection and not pass their county inspection. This is because CAL FIRE is looking at the 100 feet of dispensable space around people's home, while the county ordinance addresses people managing their whole parcel, up to 2 acres or, the 2 to 10. Okay, and it says the project aims to benefit low-income, disabled, elderly. So I asked them definition of those, and they're using the area median income thresholds for our county, which are posted by HUD annually. So you have to look up to see how poor you have to be. And then elderly is over 65, and disabled, veteran. Okay. Other factors will be considered, like recommendations from the inspector and prior to the work to get done. I asked her about the wildland urban interface, and she said, yeah, Happy Valley's in that. That was one of the requirements, and we're also in a very high fire severity zone. And then I have a link, I do have a thing on this Shasta County Defensible Space Systems Program, and on the back's got a link. You can find out which areas are high, really high, and medium severity, and all that stuff. Let's see. They're going to limit they're going to receive free work from a defensible space contract to come into compliance. We're not sure how it's going to work. We'll look, but we were trying to limit the work to 1 day per property to maximize grant funds. Anyway, so that's sounds like it's almost there. And then the state, there's the California State Homes Act, and it was signed in October timeframe of last year. Established a state grant program to help low and middle income homeowners with wildfire mitigation. Now, this sounds like more of hardscaping, or it funds critical improvements like fire-resistant roofs and zero-zone defensible space, and community-level wildfire protection strategies to reduce insurance risk and improve safety. Basically, so it's run by the California Insurance Department. Okay, so the way they prioritize, they said that top priority is the replacement of roofs. Then 2 is the creation of 5-foot non-combustible zone. And then 3 is projects that include community-wide mitigation. And let's see, that's pretty much it. And see, what else we got here? Okay, so basically, to qualify, you have to have your house insured or under the California Fair Plan, be in a very high fire hazard area, which Happy Valley is. And the income, again, is no higher than the low income limit for the county in which they reside. And they said they could begin taking applications in spring, so which is now. It says they are now developing an application portal that it hopes will have ready by March. So anyway, so we got the state program, we got a Shasta County program, especially if you're low income. So that's all I had on that subject. You could take questions or comments, but our next meeting will be, like I explained before, will be May 28th. That's the fourth Thursday in May, and that is after Memorial Day, which is the 23rd and 24th.
And how many volunteers do you think we need for the Strawberry Festival for the 2 days?
Well, let's see. How many we got here, Dennis? You volunteer?
Maybe you only have to work
One,
15
two. He did it
minutes.
last year. I don't know how he'll do it again, but 3. So we need what, 8 shifts? Yeah, so we need like
8 shifts.
4 on Saturday, 4 on Sunday.
Because
I'll
we
do
have to
one on
set
Sunday.
up and take down,
So
yeah.
we need 7 others.
So Mike, what is the responsibility of the volunteers at the Strawberry Festival?
Oh, we're just at a booth. We're trying to get next to Cal Fire, but I don't know if it's gonna work, but,
Yeah.
just
Trying.
pass out information. We did give away, free signs. Every 2 hours, we'd have a drawing, so we gave these out. But, they're only $15. Maybe we can do that again. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that'd probably be good.
The
I thought I
one
should-
side is 12, both sides is 50.
Yeah, you can get them single-sided or double-sided. I think, either.
Or you can get horizontal.
You can get, yeah. You can also get them in black, but I haven't had anybody order them in black.
No, green works.
Works real well.
Yeah.
And this is 4, you can get it in 5. The numbers are just smaller, a little smaller. Anyway, basically just pass out information, try to get somebody in and.
So if anybody wants to volunteer,
Yeah.
see Mike.
Come see Mike.
Contact one of us. Yeah. Well, that's all I had. Let's see if you guys have any questions or anything.
I got a few comments.
Yeah.
I know that all of us are kind of like, it's, the wind's picked up. It's time to get ready for the fire season, things like that. I think all of us kind of have our own little checklist, if you will, of things that we do. Some few things that I've heard that kind of to add to the checklist is make sure you know the zone for the evacuation notices. Maybe download the app of Watch Duty or neighborhood Facebook page. Have adequate insurance coverage, know what isn't covered. I worked with a lot of people after the car fire, and a lot of people, one of the things that I heard repeatedly was they kept saying, I was underinsured. It was a great deal with my insurance company, but I was underinsured. And there are other things that they didn't think about that weren't covered. Like the gold that they had in the safe wasn't covered when it melted especially. Watercraft, a lot of insurance policies have certain limitations, so just know what is and what isn't covered with that. One of the other things that I heard from them after the car fire was the problem they had with the insurance companies afterwards to try to get reimbursement on that. So one of the best things that they said is do an inventory of your house now, whether you take your phone camera and just go around and record it, do something so that you've got it there. Because at that time, you had to have 100% claim. If you wanted reimbursement for Band-Aids that got burned up in the fire, you had to list Band-Aids, And the insurance companies were ruthless, if you will, on that. After the Palisades fire, they did pass a Senate bill that says that you only need to support up to 60%. Insurance companies will pay you up to 60%. A lot of people that I talked with after the car fire didn't feel that, anything. They paid insurance for years and years on a good faith effort, and they really felt that they're getting screwed. But also you might want to have a list of must-take items, whether you post that list on your refrigerator or not. Have a safe deposit box someplace off-site. I heard people talk about vehicle titles, Social Security card, Medicare card, copy of the insurance policy. Something that they could look at after the fire. Because there's a lot of people said, Would have been great if I had been home, I would have been able to take stuff. But the fire happened while I was at work and they were hosed. Know the evacuation routes out of our area, know what you're gonna do with pets and animals, and also know what the fire department would like to see at your house, whether it's like hoses, ladders, things like that. But those are some of the things I heard after the car fire thing. So it's kind of time to get ready for what we might have as a difficult fire season this year. Hopefully not. Keep our fingers crossed, but who knows? Yeah.
One thing that I want to add to that is if you ever have a fire and have to deal with the insurance companies, have your own public assessor. That's a must. I had a fire, an insurance company was saying, "Oh, we don't pay this. It's not fully damaged." Giving me all the hard problems. And then I called hired a public assessor on my side to do the inventories, everything. As soon as he picked up the phone and called the insurance company changed the tone right away. They said, "Here's the check, no problem."
What is a public assessment?
Insurance companies, they have their expert on their side. They come in, they decide, what they're gonna pay, what they're not gonna pay. The person that you hire, they do the same thing for you, and they negotiate with the insurance company for your behalf. And it's almost like you're not a lawyer, but they're your own personal assessor. And when you have an assessor, since they are sworn assessors,
So
the
we
insurance company cannot say, "We are not covering that," because it's not like your word against their word. It's sworn assessor's word is.
So would you look them up
Hold on.
under public assessor? Or would
Yes,
it be-
And that's private pay too, right?
it's a private pay.
So they are the businesses that are public assessors.
Correct.
It's like going to a notary, they're licensed, they have to contract with the state,
Okay. Good to know. Thank
bonded
you.
and stuff.
Just so everybody knows, the water district has full water allocations this year, and the water rates probably won't change it. If they do, it'll be maybe a penny. So use as much as you can afford and keep it green away from your house.
I have a quick question. So as we do, we log our stuff and turn it in to you guys, and what we might spend on like a chainsaw, weed eaters, lawnmowers, all that jazz. What if you rent goats or sheep to eat down your property? Could you technically count that as on the log? I mean, because
Why
I'm
not?
paying for something
You can
for
list it.
somebody.
Yeah, go ahead and list it if it's an expense, and then if we need to, we'll just check with the Fire Safe Council. I think it's CAL FIRE is actually where we end up sending our totals to. So if we have questions, I know when I review them, if I question something, I may call you, or now it'll be Mike. But, it'll, if I don't understand what you're saying you're submitting, so, but yeah. And Mike's number, his phone number and his email is on the worksheet form. And then, of course, he emails you for the meetings right now. So that's the other way, you can just write back. And I'm still involved because I'm gonna be shifting some of what I was doing over to him. But, and forms like what you were asking about, we can always send them to you in email too, any of that stuff. So even the ordinance and all that.
One last question from me. When you were doing the defensible space ordinance, you listed up to 10 acres. There are people out here who have 10 or more acres. So does it change any?
Doesn't apply to
No,
them.
so it's the same as a
Doesn't
10
apply.
acre. Okay.
Yeah.
Just so anybody knows.
Question for the firefighters. We're new to this area, and what's the protocol for when it's windy like today? We wanted to do some weed whacking today, we decided not to.
So, there's no law, I don't believe. However, windy days like today, it's obviously, if you create a spark, it's gonna potentially have the ability to spread rapidly. This type with the field moisture is not necessarily bad right now, but during the drier part of the years, recommend no more cutting or weed eating or any yard work / with the equipment after 10 o'clock. And if you are doing it and it's iffy, I think they can cite you, Cal Fire can cite you if you don't have some sort of water source and a firefighting tool on hand. Even if you are mowing your grass and after, during like red flag or declared fire season, I believe. So it's your judgment, but there's no law that says you can't do it. However, if you do start a fire and it spreads and burns up buildings, you could be held liable. So it's your best judgment. We recommend not before 10, not during any type of wind event, and or
Not after.
You mean
No.
before,
sorry.
before 10?
But don't mow after 10. Yeah, sorry about that. Thank you. And then or when the humidity is low or any high heat or high wind events. Okay. Yeah. And
If we see a neighbor doing that, are we able to call him? Because I mean, I have a neighbor with like 10 acres and he's out there with his riding lawnmower like last week when it was in the high 80s, mid-high 80s. And I'm like,
Yes.
you know, so can we call you guys and be like, hey, like we see this property and they're mowing, they might hit a rock, you know, is
Yes,
that
you can
okay?
always call us, and then if, use your judgment, but if you're concerned, so you can call us, and then we can go out and investigate it, and if it's in a dangerous area or a danger, then we can go further from there. But typically, last few years, people have been pretty good. In fact, the Happy Fire off of the Amber Ridge was started by a lawnmower during a wind event. But yeah, always call us, and we'll come check it out. If it's in green grass and they're being safe, won't do anything, but if they're being negligent, then we'll try to push the issue. And the people who really have the teeth in it's going to be CAL FIRE. So.
I was gonna mention the Happy Fire, because I live right there, and, so I was actually down in Anderson, so a lot of times the fire happens, out there. So my wife was home, and, but anyway, that was, someone was cleaning up their property, but they must have sparked or, doing good on their property, but he caught on fire, and then there was a field that had high grass, burned all that, had moderate winds or whatever, but the flames got up to like 20 feet. You can see the trees where they were singed, and it went down a gully and up and singed one of the fences. But they got, we live real close to where CAL FIRE is, and, they're not that far away, but.
So one more question, like my husband said, we're new to the area and we're novice, but we're the students who are willing to show up. So, and if I missed it, I apologize. So no later than 10 a.m. What's the earliest you could start?
I don't know, there's a noise ordinance early enough to where you don't upset your neighbors.
Yeah.
Warm and windy, in the winter, probably no big deal. So I've only lived here 4 years, so I went through my first water bill, they started the drought. We had a drought, and then we had a water rationing or whatever it was.
Yep.
And,
And then one other question. So, we have 2 horses, in the event there's a fire, God forbid, and we have to be evacuated. How do we get help to get the horses out, or just, what do we do? I mean.
Should be something that Firewise helps set up.
So,
There was an organization on
So
the
with,
TV
so
the
that's,
other day.
that's for livestock, so we have an animal control, and as the incident gets bigger, they'll kind of contract people out to come out and rescue the
You
animals.
can also check with Havens Humane, they coordinate a lot.
So a lot of times,
You
a
can
lot of
also-
times, if there's a fire in this area, a lot of the livestock will go through the rodeo ground and radio. Keep them there.
And also there's something called livestock pass. So if you do livestock for living, you can work with fire department, Cal OES, and the agricultural department that they run that. It's called livestock pass. So that pass, you have to go through a training, and they were thinking about doing it online starting from 2026. So I don't know if it's online yet, but they give you a piece of paper with your picture and everything. So if you need to get back home and take care of your animals, then the sheriff's department will let you in with that pass, only to your property.
Cool.
And oftentimes the sheriff's department will escort you in there and let you feed and water your animals and escort you back out there.
Thank you.
And as on the fire side, if your horses are in an area that could be your livestock in imminent danger, our common practice is to open the gates and let them go and fend for themselves, so that way they can get out.
Okay.
If it's feasible, and we're not gonna just open up all the gates if it's a nice dirt pasture, dirt area that they're safe in. But
On the Channel 12 News the other night, they interviewed an organization that's really working hard now and getting organized to do that sort of thing. I should have wrote the name down, but Haven Humane probably has the name. And there's some other private organizations that'll come right in and help too. I know when they had the Zog fire, there was a couple of trailers out there going back and forth, picking up animals and getting them down to, it was fairgrounds back then when they were using that for an area to take your horses. And with the cattle, yeah, it's better just open the fence and let them run, because they won't load if you're having something like that going on. Just turn them loose.
Thank you.
It's also good to look out for your neighbors, because my wife was home sleeping on the couch and her neighbor came over, rapping on the door. She thought it was UPS. She ignored it. She was persistent, and so got her up, and she was one of the first people out of the fire, go through the flames or whatever. And then it's very possible that you won't be home when the fire happens. So, we do have dogs, but that neighbor had 2 dogs. We had 1 dog. So she put our dog in her car, and then she had a pickup with 2 dogs. So everything worked out. They ended up at the Happy Valley Market. And I think we didn't have any water for our dog, but we were there for 2 or 3 hours. But it wasn't that bad. But just, just got to know you may not be there. Is there anything that you'd like to see on our next meeting, some area, something to talk about, in addition to livestock? Any subjects or?
Hopefully we won't have a fire to report on.
Yeah.
Gentleman behind you.
Well, one thing, we've got a property over on Whispering Canyon, and we're actually looking to get a barn repainted. And we're looking into fire-resistant paint for the building. So we're still learning about it, and I don't know, as far as the fire department, if you guys have any information, or I don't know if a lot of people, we weren't even aware that it was available until we kind of looked into it and saw it. So I don't know if that could be something maybe we look into.
I can answer that. Lowe's had a display in the main aisle when you go in, of fire-resistant paint and other products that you can buy to help fire harden your home.
Yeah, but it's just something that I don't think a lot of people know about.
They're expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive, but I mean.
You can get
So your
vents,
house.
you can get vents to put in the gable end of your house that will actually turn on a fire retardant if it comes up to a certain heat. If it ever happens, though, then you gotta replace that vent or it won't do it again.
The other thing I wanted to mention was that I was you have to know the evacuation routes, because I've always gone to my house either up Canyon or Happy Valley, and they were both closed, so I couldn't get back to my house. And it wasn't that bad. I was down in Anderson, so I went, what is it, gas point, and down to Orlinda, and I found it over here. But I think there's only other ways of getting out of this area. So
Well, our first Firewise meeting, what was that, 4 years ago, Sandy, and the Peter Pan fire hit?
Yeah.
So we were in here with no power at our first Firewise meeting.
No cell service, 104 degrees.
I couldn't get up any of those roads either, so I had to go out gas point around and come back this way.
But we had a meeting.
We had a meeting. A little warm in here.
August
And dark.
August 2022. So we're going on 4 years.
We were checking on doing under the eaves, but nobody around Lowe's or anybody like that knew what you could put up, what product you could put up, and whether or not the fire department would, or insurance would even cover it. So if we could, to harden off our homes, if they want us to close in the eaves
It softens.
It softens, we would need some kind of information with that.
Just a good
Quarter
screen.
inch, isn't it?
I believe so.
Buoy,
Yeah, at
buoy
least that's
standards,
small.
quarter inch, yeah. Yeah, if you replace the screens with quarter inch screen, that's up to WUI standards, which is wildland interface, what you have to do. It might be interesting, this group it's a little bit kind of early right now, but I went and toured a home that they're gonna build in Cottonwood and out of hempcrete. They call it hempcrete. So it's I think it's probably the wave of the future in building. So they have 2x4 construction. They have these panels of hempcrete. So it looks like concrete kind of, except it's made out of hemp fibers and the dust, the limestone dust. And they mix it up. And the guy handed me a ball of it, and it's about the size of a hard ball, and it looked like concrete. So when he handed it to me, I figured it would weigh as much, a hard ball or something, and it was like less than a tennis ball. They have videos of them holding a blowtorch to it and just holding it there for several minutes, and it will not ignite, it will not light, it will not do anything. 2 panels with no insulation in between them on 2x4 construction has a 47R insulation value. It's breathable. I mean, it's a pretty amazing product, but it's in the 2026 building code as an alternative building material. So hopefully it'll get in the building code next year and it'll be building, but look for that because that's going to be kind of the wave of the future. Pretty interesting stuff.
We have a community event starting up on May 16th, the 3rd year of the Happy Valley Farmers Market over here by Bonnie's Burgers. We'll start up again on the 1st and 3rd Saturdays of the month from 8 to 11.
Which reminds me, you can always pick up your worksheets at Bonnie Burger, the blank ones, and you can turn them in. So they have the new version. Bonnie Burger's right down by, you know where that is? Okay.
Around the corner.
Yeah, down the street from the fire department, across the street from the school. Area.
I have one more question.
Yeah.
How many fire departments are there in Anderson?
So we're in the Anderson zip code. So as far as fire departments, Anderson has their own local government or special district. Happy Valley, we have our own special district, which we cover 32 square miles roughly, out to Clear Creek off Cloverdale, right around just past the new fire center on Canyon, just past Viewpoint on Happy Valley Road, south to Coyote on Happy Valley Road, and then east to Majestic View. That's our responsible area. Around that is Shasta County Fire, which they have satellite volunteer stations, West Valley and Igo. The main response is coming out of Station 47 or 58 for the east side. So there's probably 10 different stations in the area, or just under, and about that I can respond out here on initial dispatch. As far as this time of year, it'll be us and Shasta County Fire for the most part, but then they also have their own agreement with Shasta County Fire is staffed by CAL FIRE. They contracted with CAL FIRE for their staffing. And they also use them as another resource too. So if it's a residential structure fire in the county, they'll have 5 engines come in. If it's a residential structure fire in Happy Valley during non-fire season, we'll have us and then a county engine responding. If it's a vegetation fire, depending on the time of year and the fuel moistures and their level of dispatch, you'll have us and plus the full force of CAL FIRE and Shasta County Fire, potentially Anderson Fire or Fire. So there's a lot of resources in the county, and what's cool about this county is that they have no problem sending them to get the fire out so they can get back ready for the next one too. So you'll be impressed if you haven't lived in a wildland area yet. They do it really well up here.
Makes me feel better to hear that.
And we have a tanker base right here at Reading Airport. We usually have 2 tankers and a private Type 1 copter. And the next helicopter's coming out of Bina, and they're here in about 30 minutes or so.
Yeah.
So, there'll be tanker drops on it sometimes before the second or third engine gets there.
Another app that's really good to have outside of watch duty is the Flight Radar app. So if you start seeing the big air tankers flying over, you can pop onto the app, watch where the tanker's going, so then it gives you an idea as well of where that fire is happening before it pops up on watch duty or Facebook.
Thank you.
I watch them when I'm sitting in the pool in the summer.
I think it's awfully hard to beat watch duty there. They know it. I see a piece of smoke, it's like they know it.
It's great.
It's just
Yeah.
amazing. And it's going
I
nationwide.
just pop between the 2 apps and then I'll pull up the scanner, the radio scanner, so I'm listening to law enforcement at the same time.
think that's it. I think we did pretty good today.
Good turnout.
Be sure you eat some of those cookies or I'll have to take them home. So.
We need to thank Chris Kellstrom, our supervisor, for coming, and both of our representatives from the fire department.
You guys, oh, yeah, we started.